Western North Carolina leans heavily Republican.
Democrats are stupid.
That's Alan. He's annoyed he can't get his Trump bumper sticker to bind to his car.
It wasn't made in America. You know why? I'm going to show you why. They don't stick.
But he's sticking with Donald Trump because he's frustrated about funding, or a perceived lack of it.
Asheville is Democratic, and they didn't have no problem getting funds. But out in the country, forget it.
This is what Alan's angry about. Hurricane Helene ravaged the west of the state last month, killing at least 90 people. Dozens are still missing. Former President Donald Trump claims FEMA, which swoops in with aid and relief during natural disasters, is deliberately ignoring Republican areas that favour him.
People are dying in North Carolina. They're dying all over. They're getting no help from our federal government.
FEMA says it's completely untrue, with Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris slamming Trump.
The motives are quite transparent. To gain some advantage for themselves. To play politics with other people's heartbreak, and it is unconscionable.
Not that it makes any difference to Alan, who moved here from Florida to escape hurricanes.
The Lord told me, get the hell out of there.
So when politicians are accused of politicising hurricanes, what does that make you feel as a voter? Would it affect your vote?
No, never.
So even if Donald Trump says something and FEMA says it's not true,
I'm still going to vote for Trump.
Here in the town of Old Fort, they only had one local polling station, this church, which is now completely out of action. So instead, it's being used to store and distribute aid. And for those people who live locally, they've now got to drive 20, 30 minutes out of town just to cast a vote in person. And remember, these are people who've lost everything. They've lost their cars, they've lost their homes. They've got a lot going on in their lives right now outside the election. But both sides need them to vote because the race in North Carolina is so tight.
Polls still show no clear lead, putting a constantly changing point or two between Trump and Harris.
Who would use such a terrible, terrible disaster, the worst storm we've had in 500 years, to get political notice?
Elizabeth's a Democratic volunteer here in Madison, a small city that is now swamped with early voters from other disaster-struck areas.
Are people switching allegiances because of this, or do you think it's making them double down on their parties?
I have had many people come up to me and say, I'm a lifelong Republican. I've never voted for anybody but Republicans, but I'm voting for Kamala Harris this year.
A massive natural disaster, now a massive political issue that could influence who wins in just over 2 weeks' time. Phil Lavelle, Al Jazeera, North Carolina.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.